The Handmaid's Tale is back this week with the 4th episode of the final season, and I'm gonna say it, after 3 episodes that had quite a lot going on last week, this one definitely felt like a real slow one when compared to before. Not much happened, but I do think that was done deliberately. This episode was all about the planning and preparation of the attack that Mayday were going to carry out on Jezebel's inside of Gilead, with June changing her plans of not going back to Alaska, Luke being blinded by obsession, anger and rage rather than logic, and Serena being wooed by Commander Wharton. This episode definitely showed the direction that the season could potentially be going in. So with that, let's dive into the episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 4, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. June and Luke. When it came to June and Luke in this episode, what was interesting about their involvement was that we were now pretty much seeing Luke mirroring how June used to be. Luke seems to be letting his heart lead him when it should be his mind intervening and stopping him from letting it be that way. He pretty much devised and led an entire plan with Mayday to set up a ton of bombs inside of Jezebel's and kill the commanders that shot down the Mayday planes. He's clearly invested in the plan because when June mentioned to him about going back to Alaska, he didn't seem that interested, and he said to her how he was going to be going into Gilead and dropping off the bombs for the attack. He's obsessed with feeling like he needs to do his bit in order to get Hannah back, and I feel like the emotions that are leading him could end up causing his downfall. He's not using logic, and by going up against Gilead, who have the forces to fight back and potentially fight back harder, it's going to be a dangerous quest for them. With June, we saw that she didn't want Moira to go into Jezebel's because she was worried about her potentially freaking out due to her past experiences there. And with Janine being somebody that was profiled from the intel, that made June want to go in there even more so that she could warn her about the fight that was going to be taking place there. June had the option of going back to Alaska, but she chose not to because she continues to want to try to bring the fight to Gilead's door, which I do understand. The thing with Luke and June is that their family will continue to be broken until they finally get Hannah back, but I just don't see them getting a happy ending. I have a feeling that if they do get Hannah back, the family will be broken in a completely different way, and that could be with Luke dying. Their family has forever been broken with somebody missing, and I think it's destined to always be like that. One thing that I would say was good about June wanting to get involved in the planning of the fight was that she was the person that called out that the girls that would be in Jezebel's were actual human beings and didn't deserve to be people that were simply killed in the crossfire. It showed the lack of regard that the likes of Luke had for the bystanders that were there. Yes, they wanted to get revenge, but it seemed like they didn't care who got hurt in the process as long as they killed the commanders. I'm hoping we'll see a bit more action in the next episode with these two characters. I understand that there needs to be planning and preparation, but I'd like to think that that's done now. Lawrence. Commander Lawrence. Sorry, should I say High Commander Lawrence? This episode was titled Promotion, and Lawrence was at the heart of the episode. He's still in mourning over Eleanor, and him referring to her as his real wife when Naomi walked in was just perfect. Even seeing him retract from the instances where she tried to be affectionate, it just showed that she was never going to be his true wife. Lawrence is arguably the most human of the commanders at the moment, along with Nick, and during this episode we saw that after being promoted, he went to Jezebel's as part of a celebration and ended up being in a room with Janine. Whilst he was in there, he gave her the drawing that Angela did, and he let her have it. Lawrence mentioned how he'd keep Angela safe, and with him reading Eleanor's favourite book from when she was younger to her, I feel like it definitely showed that he was going to be taking care of her and making sure that she was alright. What I found quite powerful about this scene was that it connected to something Janine said earlier on. Janine said how even the lives of daughters of commanders can go in directions that they don't expect, and with Lawrence reading Angela the story whilst sitting around the fire, and it then cutting to Janine who was looking into the mirror and the situation that she was in, it showed the direction that a life could take and how it could be so different. Naomi seems to want to get closer and closer to Lawrence, even saying how the power of high commanders derives from their sense of virility, and with him now ascending that role, there'll likely be more required of him. However, it seems like he's not going to give in to it and he's going to stand by what he believes in and his one true love that's no longer around. Serena. Well, Serena and High Commander Wharton are definitely hitting it off now. If that dance in the street isn't extremely telling of that, then I don't know what is. But is all as it seems with them. I kinda get the impression that High Commander Wharton could potentially be using Serena in more ways than one. She's essentially become the figurehead of New Bethlehem, and that power and status and also the desire for a larger family could be that very thing that Serena could give him. So with the both of them together, they'd be seen as a force. However, whilst she could well be falling for him and find comfort in his company, she might not truly see what his actual intentions are and the person that he actually is. Serena is not a traditional wife and woman of Gilead, as was said by Lawrence in the previous episode when she was compared to Naomi. However, High Commander Wharton definitely seems to be a traditionalist when it comes to the ways of Gilead and the position that he's in. So if they do get together, I imagine there's going to be elements of conflict between the both of them and a potential change to the character. Despite High Commander Wharton wanting this softer New Bethlehem to thrive, I think it's just a front so he can maintain control and get the population up, as if New Bethlehem looks like a good place to live, then the refugees will be sent back. It seems like Wharton could be manipulating the situations that himself and Serena are finding themselves in, and I think this has the potential to all go wrong for Serena. This new life that she stepped into is most definitely about to change. Whilst she might end up getting the power that she was once familiar with by being with Commander Wharton, it might not be worth the price that it's going to come at. With Rita also arriving at New Bethlehem, it seems like she's going to be staying there for a couple of years and becoming a resident. This is something that again seems meticulously planned, and it's been done so that the numbers in the population increase and look more appealing. So she's basically being dragged back into Gilead and forced to stay without even truly realizing. There's something unsettling and uncomfortable about Serena being seen as this figurehead of hope when she's literally a figurehead of old Gilead and the reason that many of these people need to be reunited right now. It's a strange complex. She's definitely changed and grown over the course of the show, as we saw with the emotions coming to the forefront of her when she was witnessing Rita's reunion, but it still feels like she's responsible for the mess that's there. My review of the episode. I'll be honest, I thought this was a really slow episode. As I said, it was necessary because we needed the foundations laid down so that the rest of the story could be built upon it. But at the same time, it genuinely felt like not much happened at all. There was no action, there wasn't even any tension, there was nothing truly at stake. It was just conversations on all fronts which just got a bit repetitive and boring. I think coming off the back of 3 strong episodes last week, this one almost needed another one that accompanied it to make it feel like there was just some kind of progression, so I was a bit disappointed in it. That's not a reflection of the season, just this episode. In terms of the performances, I thought they were all pretty strong. No major callouts, to be honest. All I'd say is that Luke is just annoying me a little bit. Even though Luke and June love each other, I just really don't feel the connection between them when they're together. Even when they had their emotional scene at the end. I think June and Nick have a much better connection, and I'd actually like it if they ended up together during the ending. Lawrence is definitely one of the more interesting characters at the moment, and I'm most intrigued about how his story's going to end. Right now, himself and Nick are probably the most human of the bunch, and there seems to be a sense of sympathy that he has for Janine, even though he was the person that ended up having her sent there. With him in his new position, there's probably going to be more asked of him, and I think that's going to test the character and potentially show that he's not up to the job. I really do hope that the next episode has a bit more going on, and not just conversations that are happening, because this is the final season, so every episode counts. All we can do right now is hope. So, there you have it, The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 Episode 4 Ending Explained. If you want to see every episode of The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 being broken down, then I've put the playlist below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a video. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.